In this context, I'm referring to films that the industry categorizes as low budget, which typically refers to budgets below $5 million. I guess we have to adjust for inflation and currencies from countries that don't have freedom units. This might seem high, but once you check how high studio budgets get, this will make sense. So let's weigh it up. Advantages. You now have the resources to do cool shit. Talented people, great equipment, cool locations are all much more achievable. Generally speaking, much more people will see your film as well. And you have the chance to break into and claim your place in the industry, which will make future projects easier to make. The disadvantages are you don't have full creative control anymore. The higher the budget, the less control you'll have as a filmmaker, most likely. You could even get completely removed from the process of making your own film depending on your contracts. Which brings us to the next disadvantage, which is that you're tied to contracts. And we'll get into more of that in a sec. Finally, you might also be expected to be somewhat profitable or at least break even at this level. I'd say somewhere in here, there's the sweet spot where you maintain enough creative control while having enough resources to make something really interesting.
I am going to get to the truth.
But you probably are going to have to earn that privilege. Don't get the idea that they're handing out full creative control to first-time filmmakers. Here's the tricky thing with being involved with production companies and budgets. You now have contracts and you're contractually and legally obliged to do certain things. And there's some important details that you need to know to protect yourself and your work. For example, a really important thing is Final Cut. I know I'm not talking about the editing software. Final Cut refers to being able to have the final say on the version of the film that's released. Do you know when it says director's cut on DVDs? That's when the director didn't have Final Cut for the version that was released in cinemas, so their version was included for the DVD release. So the version that audiences saw in cinemas was not the version the director intended. The same can happen for streaming platforms, of course. You might have even seen different versions of a film depending on what streaming platform you watched it on, which I find extremely annoying. When the director doesn't have Final Cut, the version that gets released was probably changed according to the wishes of the producers, executive producers, or investors of the film. By the way, this isn't necessarily better when it comes to public funding of films. They also have boards full of people who are trying to steer the film in a certain direction. I've heard some pretty nightmarish stories about this from other filmmakers. The point is, the higher you go on these budget levels, the more you have to protect yourself and your vision. There'll always be more people telling you what to do with the film. They'll take all the credit if it goes well and disappear if it goes badly. So make sure when you're getting involved with contracts that you read everything carefully and ideally ask the advice of someone who's already gone through this before.